Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Rush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we're discussing Alice in Borderland, not Wonderland, but Borderland. Alice in Borderland is a Japanese science fiction suspense thriller drama streaming television series based on the manga of the same name by Hiro Aso. And I do not speak Japanese, so bear with me on the name pronunciations as always. The series stars Yam, Yamazaki as Arisu, a young man who finds himself lost in an abandoned Tokyo. We're going to talk a little bit about the synopsis. Um, in an abandoned Tokyo known as Borderland, alongside his best friends Chota and Kurobi. As they begin their search for civilization, the trio quickly finds out that they are trapped in a city in which they are forced to participate in risky, violent, and dangerous games, pushing their own emotional and physical limits in the process to survive. Um, the series premiered on December 10th, 2020, where it was met with generally positive reviews from viewers and critics. It's already been renewed for a second season, and at the end of this first season, it definitely feels like they were setting up for a second season. So I wanted to talk about this because I've been kind of looking at some like niche foreign Netflix series, and it's foreign for me because I'm in the United States. But we had just covered Sweet Home, which was a Korean like monster Walking Dead type series that was on Netflix. I actually relatively enjoyed it, but then I stumbled across Alice in Borderland, and I was like, all right, this is looking like some pretty high dollar, high concept or low. I think it's low concept if it's like craziness. Yeah, I think it's low concept stuff, but yeah, it was entertaining to say the least. Um, so let me see anything else we need to say. I will say this this feels like Escape Room meets Saw in Tokyo in the future. And then you're good. You just blend it together and that's what you got. You got a full meal right there. Um I think it was 8 episodes. Yeah, it's 8 episodes. And so for the first 3 episodes, just as a quick non-spoiler little bite, I will say it completely changes. I'd say like narrative pacing shift in a way, whereas I was expecting it to be like a um consistent. This is gonna happen in this episode. This is gonna happen in this episode. Like here's a game. Here's a game. Here's a game. Here's a game. It definitely travels between the line of having almost like an interactive experience when you're watching this show, which is it's fun to watch, but it also becomes very visceral with the storyline of how violent it can get. And so, anything else we need to discuss about this? Anything we need to discuss? Yeah, I thought the acting um works pretty well for me. Generally, it's a tad campy in a way, as in they know it's kind of ridiculous, but it still works for me generally. In that, was saying that in comparison to the other series of like Sweet Home, I think this looks much more polished as a television show. Um, so let me see what we have right here, over here, right now, right here. All right, so we are about to discuss the first episode. I'll probably discuss the first 3 episodes as a little chunk, and then we'll skip to the last episode just to kind of have, just so that you know exactly what's going on. Okay, so this will contain spoilers for the first episode and the ones that we're discussing, and then we're going to jump into the final one. So I'll do my best to not jump too far in and out of the different um, episodes, so that if you were watching this or if you're listening to this, or you're watching this as you're watching the series, that you won't be spoiled on like episodes 4 or 5 when we're talking about episodes 1 or 2. So I'll do my best to refrain from that. Okay, so the I think the entire series is all written by Shinsuke Sato. I don't know 100% about him, but I do know that this is based on the original graphic novel Alice in Borderland. Um, like I said, that was based off the manga. Um, that is the manga series, and that was released between 2010 and 2015, I believe. Yeah, yeah. And there was an original video animation. Hmm, didn't get to see that. Don't know what it is. But anyways, all right, so let's talk about the roughly 40-minute to 50-minute television series, television episodes. Um, okay, episode 1. In Tokyo, video game obsessed Arisu hangs out with his friends Chota and Kurobi while dancing with them in the streets of Shibuya Crossing. And the thing about like going to this quote unquote world, Alice in Borderland in Tokyo, is um, having to be in the process of living in the current pandemic in the real world has made me want to watch more foreign stuff, to almost vicariously live in these places for just a little bit. It's kind of a way of traveling in a way that I've never really looked at in a serious manner. Uh, yeah, sure. Ants ZMD, sure. Thank you. We can do a follow for follow. Just shoot me a follow, and I got you, man. Let me see if I got this over here. All right, that should fix that. Let me make sure I got all this. Thank you for following. I appreciate it. Where is my things? Thank you. Yeah, I'll shoot you a follow. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about Allison in Borderland for anybody that's just joining in. Um, Thank you for the follow. I don't know where my must have turned off the dancing thing, or unless you saw it, y'all should have seen it. I don't know. Anyways, we're talking about Allison in Borderland. So, being able to watch like being able to watch like foreign television shows such as Sweet Home on Netflix is taking place in like Korea. They're not doing a lot of traveling in that, but it's still exciting to watch, kind of vicariously going in. Let me see. Can I follow? Let me see if I can go to anything right here. User action. View info. Got you, bud. There you are. Just sent you a follow. Ants ZMD. Appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, being able to vicariously live and go through these like shows and kind of explore these different places is really exciting. So, in Alice in Borderland, we get to vicariously live or go through what's it called, Tokyo, and so our main characters are dancing in the streets, which if no one's been in Shibuya Crossing, which I have not been, but what it appears to be is like a Times Square type scenario. Like if you're in New York, it kind of looks like as busy as if Times Square was it. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you following, Ants. Um, yeah, the entire crossing, Shibuya Crossing, these guys are just like, living the dream, and they're just having an amazing time, and they are like dancing in the streets, fucking cars everywhere, almost get hit by a car, shit like that. And they run into a subway bathroom so they don't piss anybody off or something like that. So they run into a subway bathroom. And then while hiding in the bathroom, the group reemerges to find the city completely empty at night. The group notices a billboard leading them to a game arena. And so they literally walk outside of this what's it called, like subway bathroom that they had been chased by, random people that they had pissed off of dancing in the streets about. They walk outside and everybody in Tokyo is just fucking gone, just like, oh my gosh, where the fuck did everybody go? And so uh at that point you're just like, okay, I love the eeriness of it. It's kind of got that Twilight Zone feeling of how did this happen? Almost like you walked into another dimension. I've always been fascinated by that kind of concept and whatnot. But let me see. All right, so the group notices a billboard leading them to a quote unquote game arena. Inside, the trio finds a stack full of phones which show them the game's difficulty level, illustrated by a playing card. The group is also joined by a high school girl and another woman named Shibuki, who informs them that once a player enters an arena, they won't be allowed to leave, as a laser will shoot them dead. And it's a little bit unclear about where this laser is even like coming from. Like, it's kind of like, wait, this thing's coming back. Where this laser's coming from, the sky? Like, you're like looking around. It's like, don't. It's like fucking done. I was just like, what am I supposed to gain from this like god laser that's coming from out of the sky? Like, bzzz, like, is it a drone? Like, are they in a VR simulation? Like, what's happening? It's got so many questions about this like random laser that comes from the sky. At the end of this episode, it's sort of explained that there's fucking lasers going all over the place of Tokyo. It is it's insanity. Sorry, I need some water. In their first game of 3 of clubs, difficulty level titled Dead or Alive, the group is forced to pick between 2 doors under a certain time limit, one containing an entrance to another room with the same choice, and the other certain death. So this was like intense. Like, at certain points, I feel like this show really thrives on the pacing, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're about to die. In other scenarios, I felt like it was, to say the least, not as compelling. I don't really know exactly what's going on, but it's not like, if I knew that uh, a drone or something was above me, or I don't know, if something was uh following me with a laser, I would be just like constantly like, can I get out of the viewpoint of this like laser so I'm not just struck dead, um and not always thinking I'm going to constantly die. Most of the time it feels like the pacing is at that level, but it generally feels like it's like that when they are doing the escape room. And so this is a pretty interesting way to do an escape room. And then at the very end of this, we have our main character, Arisu, is basically found out to be like a genius. I mean, Arisu does like the calculation of his dad's car in front of the hotel, knows that it's the same length of his dad's car, 6 blocks around, and he times it by 4, multiply it by 2, jump in another room, and you're good. It's like, what? How did you get? How did you get that assumption? I was like, okay, that's not exactly easy for the the audience to understand. Like, we were how are we supposed to know like his dad's car, the length, the size of the building, like okay, so this guy's clearly doing some almost magician level math or genius level math. It's just like ridiculous. So in the end, only the original trio and Shibuki make it out alive, with Chikota leaving with an injured leg outside the group is given individual visas, which are extended the more games they play, and kills them once they're expired. So basically, these visas um, give them like certain give them longer give them a longer time to live, and the more you play your games, the more time you get to live. It's like, wow, this is pretty intense, and this was something that instantly hooked me. And then I believe this is when we find out um, at the very end of this episode is where we see all these fucking lasers coming from the side. It's like bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. And I gotta say, the CGI, everything, the direction and cinematography, and the way this really looks and feels, it's kind of almost happy go lucky at times. I mean, they have this like music that they play that really makes you kind of bop to your head, but then other times there's like people being hunted, or there's things happening that with this laser coming out of the sky, just craziness, impossible things happening that are just like, whoa, that just keep you on your toes. And so that's where it's really impressive. And then the other points I would say are just like there's pacing issues in some other parts of the show, um, and maybe a little bit of story, um, not hand-fistedness, but just conveniences in a way. So let's talk about episode 2 real quick. After finding out there's no electricity, internet, or way to escape the abandoned city, Arisu and Kiribuki? I forgot his name. I don't know. Kiribuki decide to um, participate in another game to extend their visas, leaving Shibuki to tend to an injured Chikota. At another game arena located in an apartment complex, the pair meet a large group of players, including a mysterious woman named Usagi, a strongman named Aguni, and a sly, quiet player named Shishiya, I think. Chishiya. Oh god, I forgot his name too. It's been a month, or sorry, a week since I've seen this guy. Sorry. Um, Before beginning, Arisu learns the meaning of each card. Spades correlate to the game of strength. Clubs are team battles. Diamonds are a battle of wits. And hearts correlate to games of betrayal. The current game, a five of spades, difficult level titled Tag, follows the players hiding in a complex from a pair of brutal killers as they try to find a room that contains a pair of buttons that will stop a bomb from exploding. In the end, most of the players manage to escape after Arisu, Chishiya, and Usagi work together to find a room. Though Arisu feels guilty later after he witnesses the execution of one of the killers. So this was I am always a sucker for like a killer coming through with a like an animal mask, like a horse mask with a face mask with a bird mask. Always creeps me the hell out. And if I ever do if I ever direct something like that, I think that one of the killers in there has to have that shit, because it's just like, what? Is a horse coming to hunt me with a human body? And then next thing you know, it's like, oh my Lanta. So I am always fascinated by having, that type of, what's it called? That type of threat. It always like throws me for a loop, and it always freaks me out. I don't even know how to explain it. So anyways, what else do we have to? So the thing is, this was a weird episode when it came to the sex and whatnot. I will say, there is like a ton of sexual natured type stuff happening in this episode. We're getting backstory of a little bit of Arisu, a little bit of Chakotay, I think. Yeah, we get a little bit of Chakotay, like his mother was like given to like the priest of their church or something. Some weird funkiness, and he was like he witnessed a little bit of it. A little bit too much. And then I didn't really understand the reasoning for Shibuki to just lay with Chakotay, except for the fact of making it very sexual. I just was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's kind of edited and correlated with the hunting of our main characters, Arisu and Chakotay. Sorry, Caribou? Karabuki? Um, like they're being hunted by a horse guy. A person with a horse mask on, while it's being smash cut in between fucking Chakotay and Shibuki, getting it on. Like I was just like, I don't see why. I felt like the entire scene felt really sexual, and then she started making a move, and then for everything, all of this to happen, that we kind of feel like we're being invested in these characters for this longest time, and just a little bit of investment of the Usagi character and like Aguni and Chishiya character. I felt like there was a lot of time dedicated to the Chota and Shibuki characters. I was just like, wow, this is it made it that much more, I guess, like surprising that we lose these characters. Um, well, I now I'm kind of going into this episode 3. Let's go into episode 3 so we can talk about it. So, um, talking about how much investment we have with these characters, it's just impressive to see what they end up actually doing with them. And so, um, episode 3, the following morning. Sorry, let me finish this. Um, In the end, most of the players managed to escape. Arisu, Chishiya, and Usagi work together to find a room. And it is kind of like a little bit of, uh, what do you gotta say? A foreshadowing of who these characters are going to be later in the show. And so, yeah, in the end, most of the players managed to escape. They all work together to find a room, though Arisu later feels guilty when he witnesses the execution of one of the killers. The killers, we find out with the animal mask, have these like necklaces on, and a lot of this. I do appreciate this episode much more than I did the first time I watched it, because after watching the entire series, you understand how um, these people are being forced to hunt the other people. So regardless if you're being hunted or being or the hunted, or hunting or being hunted, that you could possibly have one of those necklaces on, and then boom. And so, yeah, it is foreshadowing towards that. Um, uh, Caribou finds radio telling him to return to the beach. So that's kind of like setting up what's going to happen later down the road, the beach and everything like that. I have mixed feelings about what goes on at the beach, to be honest. I think I enjoyed what happens at the beach, but it gets just so radical and so crazy that some of the intensity of it is just like you're either with it or you're not. Um, the following morning, Caribou shows the rest of the group that he found during the game and the message he heard from it, realizing that Shibuki and Chakotay only have until the end of the day to extend their visas. The entire group visits a botanical garden to extend their next game. The only participants, the group finds out that they have entered a 7 of Hearts difficulty level titled Hide and Seek, in which only one player manages to leave the garden alive. Which is like, holy shit, how are they going to figure their way out of this? Like, we need Arisu to have like a freaking Jimmy Neutron brain blast, like, to get us out of this shit. Like, this is some intensity. So, let me see. At the start of the game, the players are given facial recognition headsets and are assigned animals, with three of them being sheep and the fourth being a wolf. To play, a player switches animals every time they lock eyes with another player, with the wolf at the end of the game winning the game. Sorry, with the wolf at the end winning the game. After a brawl, Arisu manages to become a wolf and he hides from the rest of the group who failed to find him using the headsets given to them at the start of the game. Um so yeah, after the brawl that happens throughout this botanical garden scene is intense. Uh, they have a big table full of saw-like tools, and it's like choose your weapon, and the enemies are literally all of your friends. It's like fuck that. This would be the worst fucking game to ever have to play. Um, if you were in this game, this would be the absolute worst. Just go ahead and strike me down. Like so, anybody that hasn't seen this, which I don't know why you haven't seen this and you're watching this far, if you walk outside of the game, you will be struck by a fucking laser in the top of the head coming out of the fucking sky of who knows what. Um, so yeah, you gotta be you gotta be careful when it comes to that. Let me see what we have. So Arisu almost unfortunately becomes the wolf, and what you find out is the wolf is not hide is not hunting the sheep. It's the wolf is hiding from the sheep, and the sheep are trying to become the wolf, and the wolf is the one that will not have their head explode, um, which is fucking intense. And so half the time, Chibuki and Choda or Caribou, Kabuki or whatever his name is, all of the Caribou, all of the I'm fucking all the names up now. all all of them are basically fighting one another. I mean, Shibuki was the first one to just she got the she locked eyes with whoever was the wolf first. I think it was Arisu. She took the wolf status, and then she's like, "I'm sorry, I gotta get out of here," and she fucking spazzes. And like when she's doing that, it's like, wait, I thought she was gonna be a main character. I mean, she clearly was looking out for herself for the majority of the time. I mean, we have random flashbacks of her having sex with her boss, and then she's doing what she can to make her way to the top kind of thing, but a lot of sexual stuff happening with this chick, and then she gets mad that uh Choda ends up like tackling his ass with his like broke ass, burnt ass leg. It's just like god dang, and he's like fucking choking his. I was like, what is going on? And then Caribou is like gonna like beat the hell out of like there was like some crazy violence against this chick. I was like, I didn't know if this was all necessary. Like y'all didn't have to do it like that, but Arisu ends up becoming the wolf, and he's just like, oh my god, like spazzing out, like he can't like deal with this, and he's like trying to give the he's like he runs and he tries to like undo the explosion thing that's on his neck, and if it's like 5 4 3, it's gonna explode in like 10 seconds, and he has to lock eyes with someone else so that they become the wolf, and that he ends up not ends up exploding. He didn't want to be the wolf and be the only guy left, but Caribou is just like smoking his last cig, and we fucking Choda and damn Shibuki, I think, just come to realization that they're like, well, fuck it, Um, but yeah, I would be doing everything I could to get this thing off. Like, if your head's gonna explode anyway, it's like you might as well get it off. So I was just like, oh my gosh, and there, so it's crazy. Arisu's like running to Caribou's like Caribou, and he tries to lock eyes with them, and Caribou's just kind of looking up, and he's like, I was just like, wow. And then it flashes over to his friends, Shibuki and Choda, fucking done, dead. Like I was, I was pretty damn shocked. I was like, they just killed like 3 out of the 4 main characters of the cast. Like, holy Santa Claus, that we've invested almost 2 hours with. It's like, god dang. And so it did make me think that we're gonna have a lot more we're gonna have a lot more Usagi and of these other characters in this that we met in episode 2. So that was the thing. I was just like, I could not believe the boldness of this television show, that we would invest that much time. Was it an hour and a half almost with these characters, and the main characters end up just like exploding. So it's like Arisu manages to become the wolf, and he hides from the rest of the group who fail to find him. Using their headsets given to them at the start of the game, the groups decide to spend their last moments chattering about their friendship. In the end, only Arisu makes it out alive. There is, I do feel like they're like great friends at the beginning of this series. I do feel like some of the backstory with them just saying, you remember when Choda was having noodles and it came out of his nose, and it was just like, what? And then they're all like having these memories and stuff like that. It was, I don't know. I think it's going to work for some people more than others. I'm kind of, I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation. Sometimes I can be more critical about it than others. Just like having random flashbacks as a way for you to care about people right before something terrible happens to them. It can really, it varies. Mileage might vary. I don't know why I just talked in an Australian accent. So anyways, they end up going to the beach. They're finding out all about the stuff at the beach. It was a little bit predictable how this militant group was taking over the that they were able to take over the beach. I mean, they have the firepower. So basically, they meet this guy named the Hatter, which is actually he used to be a guy that worked in I guess that's is that what you call people that give you hats, like size you up for hats? You call him a Hatter? I have no. So, anyways, the craziness ends up ensuing after they go to the beach. I feel like there's maybe 1 or 2 episodes of just like understanding that this is not the utopia that you think it is, and that shit is going to hit the fan. One of the most interesting parts about the let me see, the last episodes, I think, are how they're able to kind of explain all the backstories of a lot of these militant groups and stuff like that. Some of them have to do with, like, what's his face, the Hatter's best dude, Aguni. I really thought that there's some pretty good stuff with understanding their backstory, and that some of them are not exactly in the place that they thought they would be, and a little bit more self-reflective. I will say I'm not sure if this series really has all that much to say when it comes down to I like tonal, themal stuff, like good will prevail, or like you're stronger together, or some like overarching message or something like that. A little bit more. It's so story based, and what each individual person is kind of going through. I don't feel like there's really an overarching thing, although maybe stronger together kind of thing. Maybe if someone has like a theme or a tonal aspect to this Alice in Borderland show, then let me know. Let's hop into the the final episode, where things just get absolutely insane. It turned into insanity. In a flashback, Momika wanders through this empty city with her friend Ashi, recording videos with her working phone. In the present, Arisu confronts Aguni, who tells the rest of the group that he's the witch, but that his victim was not Momika, but Hatter, who is revealed to have been his best friend who he shot in self-defense. Hatter was actually trying to shoot a Goonie at that time, what it looked like. Arisu concludes that Aguni is not actually the witch, but it is Momika, who had killed herself at the start of the game. As Aguni attempts to kill Niragi, the remaining players throw Momika into the bonfire, winning the game. As everyone leaves the burning hotel, Shishia collects the final card. The next day, Arisu and Usagi watched several videos recorded by Asai, who had died during the game. Sorry, I don't know why I just paused so long. In them, Asai and Momika reveal that they're players who organize games to extend their visas. In one video, the pair visit an underground lair with quote-unquote game masters. Arisu and Usagi manage to locate the lair only to find a pile of executed quote-unquote game masters, and Chishiya and Kunia, who reveal the game masters were actually players. A woman named Myra appears, who introduces a new set of games to collect face cards. And then you see all these giant face cards all across the city. Okay, so this is when it kind of just like, I think it jumps the shark a little bit when there's so much killing in this fucking show. Like, just senseless mowing down of people with guns. It was really hard to kind of get on board 100% with that. Like, Tokyo has absolutely no problem like the states do when it comes to gun violence, and so they're just showing tons of people just getting mowed down. It's kind of disturbing in a way, but I will say, if you can get over the fact that it's not real, it's just entertainment kind of thing, then yeah, you can continue and watch it. But then once you figure out this entire beach hotel or place that the Hatter wanted to really call a utopia, it was not. It was going to be anything but a utopia. It became basically a slaughtering ground for all of the militant groups, and they're sniping people, they're shooting people, they're hunting people down the hallways and shit like that. It's quite disturbing, to be honest. And like, the more I talk about it, it's like, it was a lot of killing. And I don't have a problem with actual killing in movies and television shows. It's just the fact is, just seeing all these people mowed down, it's like, oh my god, for nothing, it feels like. And so yeah, the militant group is just trying to find all these people, find the witch. And yeah, we do get backstories of all these kind of crazy characters. The militant group, we find out the rider that became like a samurai guy that shaved his head and put all this eyeliner on, and he's like, hitting that look. And there's like some pretty badass action. I gotta say, this is probably some better action than I've seen in some television shows in a while. Can't really think of anything that really compares and in comparison at this time. But I was just like, this is intense. And so yeah, we get the backstories of the I think he was the writer. Doesn't the daughter or something fight the writer who said that her father went missing or something like that? She was fighting the writer that had said terrible things about her father in the news, and then on the newspaper, and then that type of thing. It was like, wow, this is pretty intense to kind of go back on and all that, and give all these people backstory. I was like, okay, and they have some just crazy action to go along with it, and pretty well choreographed and stuff like that. So I didn't have any complaints on there. I was very entertained, and we had the pretty pulse pounding music as well. I will say, like, I think it was episodes like 6 and 7. We have our main character, like, Arisu's essentially like tied up over half the time, and is it Usagi, the one of the main female characters? She's like being like like sexually assaulted by um Niragi, I think his name is, and we find out later that he was a nerd that was beat up back in the day. Once again, I gotta say it's sort of cheap flashbacks in a way, but it's like, all right, we don't have time to give everybody a flashback. I guess I kind of think they would have been benefited if they had like a one episode that based themselves all on the militant group. I think that probably would have been beneficial a little bit. And then like Chishiya, he is wishy-washy throughout this entire episode. Sorry, this entire season. Um, Kind of looks like Link, to be honest. From Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. I don't know. He needs to play him. Anyways, yeah, I will say he's really calm, cool, and collective. Um, but overall, I was just like, I don't trust this guy. So, anyways, anything else we have to do to wrap this television series up? There's tons of Alice in Wonderland, like small Easter egg kind of things. I'm sure there's things I missed that have to do with the face cards and the actual, what was it called, the actual manga series. I'm sure there's Easter eggs in between there. I've not checked out the graphic novel or anything like that. So um, Shinsuke Sato, Yasuko Kuramitsu, and Shishiki Watabe, all very excellent. I really enjoyed the majority of the casting. The bad guys played the bad guys, the good guys played the good guys. Some of the sexualization of the women, like I felt like there was a lot of, I don't know, there was a lot of sexualized nature, just sexualized cinematography. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I was just noticing a lot of ass shots and a lot of things that noticeably were more sexualized than not. Not criticizing for it, but I was just like, this is very sexual. It's very violent. It's a very that kind of television show. I like the guy that played the Hatter. He was pretty interesting to watch, and I really enjoyed the. Honestly, I do think the casting was really good. To be honest, I watched it with dubs and sub like subtitles and dub over. Some of the dubs are not as good as others, and it's not gonna land with everybody. If you can't get over the dubs, and that's probably the first problem for you. But I was able to kind of just get ingrained in this world. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a pretty crazy concept. My biggest complaint would be just like I didn't feel like they always felt like the pacing was like up to par. I always felt like the pacing was kind of hit or miss, to be honest. So yeah, let me see what we got. Anything else? I think this is about it for the Alice in Borderland television series review. Thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. Let me know how I can improve the podcast. I know I had a couple things going on throughout this podcast that since we were recording live, it doesn't always happen perfectly, but I hopefully that you enjoyed this podcast. Let me know how I can improve, and stick around for more podcasts. We have the top 10 movies of 2020 coming down the tube. I wanted to make sure that I watched the majority of 2020 movies that, I thought might make it on the screen, or sorry, might make it on my top 10, and I was actually right. So, a couple good reviews coming down the pipe. Plus, we've already reviewed Sweet Home on Netflix, another Netflix series, and Palm Springs, which is on Hulu. So, thank you for listening, watching LuckyDog Podcast. Let me know how I can improve. Be sure to check out the Patreon. You can donate on PayPal. You can check all of this out. This is going to be it's already live on Twitch. You will get it mastered on Patreon, SoundCloud. You can watch it on YouTube. You can do it, all the fun stuff. support in your own way. 5 stars on iTunes. Be sure to follow Ants ZMD212. Thank you for the follow. Gavin, Darren, thank you for stopping by. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. Let me know how I can improve, and take it easy.